And the format of this meeting is that on alternate weeks there is a step reading or a step share. However, when there is a fifth Sunday in the month, the meeting is a topic meeting. This week is a step share, and Kari has come along to share on step 8. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Kari.
All right. I'm Kari. I'm an addict.
Hi, Kari.
How you guys doing? All
right.
It's really fun to be here. We're all the same. And it's just fun to be here and see that we are. I was looking at the service symbol on the back of your reading and thinking that, going, wow, no matter where we go. I'm the H&I chair of my area. I also belong to something called Sponsorship Behind the Walls. I have 12 years clean. Into January I took 12 years. And I'm going to share with you about how my 8th step went. I had 350 names on my 4th step, which my sponsor was a little overwhelmed. Hey man, it was I had to be thorough, okay? She looked at me and went, "Oh, okay." And then after I was done with 5, 6, and 7, I came up with 28 additional names that they weren't additional, but they were direct amends that needed to be made. And that's, you know how that goes, that's later on. But I love the way our steps are written. They have commas in the middle of them, and I didn't know that when I first got here. I just kind of read them all together, and it caused a lot of problems because I didn't understand that you do one little part first, and then you get to the comma, and then you do the other part. And so when I made my list of all persons that I had harmed, comma, and became willing to make amends to them all. And how do you become willing to really work an 8th step? And I wasn't ever really willing to do that. And I'm going to tell you how it went for me. My first clean date was February of 1989. I was 28 years old. I've been slamming dope for 10 years. And I was a pirate. I stole aluminum out of one scrapyard and took it to another scrapyard in Boise, Idaho, actually. And I was a bartender from the time I turned 21. I had 4 abortions before I had my son. My son is now 27. I had a lot of wreckage going on, and I had a really crazy childhood. So when I got here at the age of 28, I was willing to go to meetings. I was willing to drink lots of coffee. I was even willing to go for that little 13th step that they talk about in some of you guys. I don't know if you have that here. I'm sure you do. And I was really willing to be a part of. I was willing to go to the dances. I was willing to share a little bit about myself with you in the form of, I was crazy, I was really crazy, and I had a lot of energy, and I was really scary. I came from a motorcycle club. When I lived in Boise, I belonged to an outlaw gang motorcycle club, and so I was like dripping with turquoise and the leather, and, I could have sold that shit right off my body, and I wasn't willing to get a sponsor. I was you don't ride your own bike, so you're not going to work for me, and you're too young. And I just really, I just couldn't. The reality is I just wasn't willing to be honest, and I couldn't be honest. I wasn't ready. I had too much wreckage and too much pain to get real with that stuff. I went to therapy, that was my sponsor. I called my therapist my sponsor for about 5 years, and, that didn't really work too good. At 6 years, 3 months, and a couple of days, I finally relapsed. And I'd married an old-timer at 2 years, and then I married a newcomer at 6 years. Neither one of them worked, obviously. And when my little poor newcomer relapsed, I went with him. And I chose to relapse with him. I was so insane and so... Does that mean I'm out of time? No. You guys, being clean that long and not having a sponsor and not having the steps and not being under the care of a higher power, it was so poignant and so obvious that a relapse was inevitable, And I had such a facade and I was so angry all the time for so many years that there was no way you could have come and talked to me about it and share, Kari, come on, you look like you're going to head into a relapse. Because I would go, oh yeah, you're probably right. Fuck you. I just couldn't, I wasn't ready. Boy, I'm telling you, that 10-month relapse was what I needed. And I know a lot of people don't get that and they have problems with that, and I just don't care. I don't care about, this is my 12th step. This is my share with you. This is my story. And I am so glad that I went off the deep end. Because I needed that first night in that recovery home. I got in on a Friday night, and by Saturday night they had a little NA dance. And I remember I'd already hit up the free closet, and I had somebody else's pajamas on and somebody else's big fuzzy slippers, and a song came on, and I realized that I was back into NA and that I was going to be okay. And I asked myself, all right, stupid, what did you miss? Oh, I missed having a sponsor. I missed working the steps. I didn't have a higher power. I didn't have any of those things, and I knew that was going to be what I needed to do. I needed to really be a part of NA, because I was just a hang-around. And I went to meetings every day. I went to the parties. I went to all this. It doesn't keep you clean. It didn't keep me clean. It didn't keep me clean. And when I got my sponsor, I had exactly 9 months, and she agreed to sponsor me. In fact, she said I'd be honored to be her sponsor, and I just had almost fell out. I was like, oh, right, nobody's ever been honored to do anything with me. So, and in my sponsorship family, you get to do 1, 2, and 3 for a whole year. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the dance of recovery. That's what we call it where I'm from. I had to learn how to do 1, 2, and 3 before I could move on to 4. And after I did that 350 name list, then I had to write about each one of those people, and I had to write about what my part in it is, what happened, your part, that kind of thing. And then in my 5th step, I had to share all that stuff with her. And it took about 6 hours. And when I got done with my sharing with her, and we did that communications thing, she said, Kari, I know you pretty well. And I said, yeah. And she said, you know what? This is going to be really hard for you, but you need to name those abortions that you had. You need to name those little souls. And I just went, I felt like I had the wind knocked out of me. But you know what? Was I going to be willing? Was I going to be willing at this point in my life to get to that part about forgiveness of myself, of what I had done, and take responsibility for myself? Yeah, you're damn right I was. After relapsing and after almost losing my life again, I was willing to do that. And so I did that. And then right then and there, it was 6 and 7. Right then and there, we did the 6 and 7 based on, that's how we do it in my sponsorship family. We walk through what my character defects were, and what my shortcomings were. And it felt really good to be done with all of that. And then came the part about, well, now you get to do step 8. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? She goes, now you get to go and make a list out of all the 4 steps. Out of 350 names, I came up with 28. Oh, pretty good. And and what I did is I wrote them all out again, and I put down if it was a financial amend, what I owed, who it was to, and I made just a little note, and I put it off in an envelope, and I mailed it to her because she had moved away from me. She lives about 350 miles from me, and you know what? It works for us. I get on my motorcycle, I ride to her house, I do my step work, I come back home, or now I just go and visit her because it's been many years since, we've been through the steps with her. And I just do touch-up stuff with her now. She kept that 8th step list for about 2 years. And it was my responsibility to do that, to do the ninth step, to do the work. It was my responsibility to actually make those amends, or to find a different way to make those amends. And if this was a ninth step share, it'd sure be a lot easier. And when I found out it was the eighth step, you know what? I went to about 20 people, 20 members in my area, and said, "How would you share about the eighth step? What do I do? Show them my list? Here's my list." She said, "No. How did you become willing? How did you become willing to do that?" I became willing because I relapsed. I became willing because I don't want to ever live. I don't ever want to do that again. I became willing because you know what? You know what you're talking about, and I had no clue. Even though I hung out here, even though I went to all the meetings, all the dances, all the BS, even though I did all the NA functions, I still didn't have a clue on how to do it because I didn't want to. I didn't really want to know. I could talk about it, and we could gab at each other, but to really live it and do it's a whole nother animal. So I realized when she mailed back my little 8-step list to me, out of the blue, I get it in the mail, she goes, "So how's this going?" I was like, "Wow, let me check it out." And I went, "Oh, I kind of forgot about that guy." Oh, how do you get over your own ego? Good God, how do you do that? Well, I knew that if I didn't forgive Dan Lopez and I didn't make amends to him, that it could have been that little reason, that little F you carry in the back of my mind, just doing push-ups, waiting for me to go off the deep end, and no, Dan Lopez, I can go and apologize to him. And I did. I went and I said, "Remember when you messed up?" Okay. Remember when you didn't do your job? Oh, no. Okay, wait a minute. Let me start over. Okay. I'm really sorry for what I did to you. And he just looked at, he was a normie guy, probably about 70 years old at the time. And he didn't understand what I was doing, and I didn't care. It wasn't about me explaining to him that I was on this journey and, my life depended on it. It wasn't about any of that stuff. It was about showing up and doing the right thing. And you know what? That's part of doing this. The 8th step is that you can't be worried about it. Oh, that'd be more like 9th step, but I still look at that list, and on the top of that little 28 list, not part of the 28, but on the top of that was me. That was a tough one, forgiving myself and being willing to be responsible to myself and being willing to forgive myself. And that was a really tough one. It was really hard to go, you know what? Yeah, you did a terrible job raising yourself, Kari, and yeah, you let yourself down, and yeah, you were underskilled as a self-parent because I basically raised myself. But you know what? You're doing the right thing now, and you're taking care of things now, and just, keep going. I got this saying that I've been saying for a long time. It's like, I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution, and when it came to that relapse, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. And I blamed you guys for a long time. I did. I was like, well, you should have been strong enough to tell me I was messing up. How's that working for you, Kara? I love all the steps. I love all of them. This was a good challenge, and good for me to come and share with you guys, because it's a big part. I could see before I really started working the steps 12 years ago, I could see how glossing over this one would be really easy, because we talk about it in our literature, especially in the flat book, that new step working guide, about how we can just look at our 4th step list and think that that's it, and I did that for many years. I thought that that was it, and not when I got into recovery, into my real recovery. I tell people, out of the last 19 years, I have 18 of them clean, and that's just my own BS. But for real, I'm so glad to be clean, and I'm glad that I spent that 6 years clean before I relapsed, because it helped me become a productive member of my society. I had a job. Good job. A good job that when I did bite the dust, I had insurance. And I got to go see a real therapist. Does anybody have any questions? No? I think you guys told me I had 20 minutes, and I think I did my time. I think I did. That's it. What else are you going to say?
Great.
Did that work, Frankie?
Thanks, Kari. Thank you. That's
you.
fantastic. And yeah, it's just fantastic to have you here today.
Thank you so nice.
The meeting is raised hand sharing, and Archie will choose the shares this week. Please share your experience on the step. Please be mindful of your sharing time. There is no limit. However, when you reach 5 minutes, I'll let you know with this card. I'll just go like that. If you can acknowledge that, that would be great. And the last 10 minutes is reserved for newcomers. The meeting is now open. Thank you.